"Sorry, we just sold the last one. You'll have to go somewhere else," Brenda said coldly, eyeing the crumpled bills in Aisha's hand. "But that one?" Aisha pointed to a small, perfect tree. "Reserved," Brenda lied. "Now please leave. We're closing." The three little boys began to cry, their breath visible in the freezing Christmas Eve air. Across the lot, a luxury car pulled up, and a man in an expensive coat, Michael, stepped out and froze at the sight before him. But before we see what happens next, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into the full story. Please, Mom, you promised this would be the year we get a real Christmas tree. 8-year-old Noah tugged on his mother's sleeve, his eyes wide with excitement. "I know I did, sweetheart." Melissa Thompson smiled down at her son, brushing his dark hair away from his forehead. "And I meant it. We saved enough money this year." Melissa sat at the small kitchen table in her apartment, counting the worn bills she'd been saving for months. $75 exactly. She'd been putting aside a few dollars from each paycheck, determined to give her identical triplet sons the Christmas they deserved. "How much longer?" Ethan asked, bouncing on his toes next to his brother. "Lucas already put on his boots." "Just 5 more minutes," Melissa promised, tucking the money into her wallet. "Finish your breakfast first." The tiny kitchen barely contained the energy of 3 excited 8-year-old boys. Melissa watched them eat, their faces so similar, yet each with their own expressions. Ethan, the analytical one, carefully cut his toast into precise squares. Noah, the artist, was already drawing Christmas trees on a napkin. Lucas, the athlete, could barely sit still, eager to start their adventure. At 32, Melissa had spent 8 years raising her sons alone while working 2 jobs. She was a nurse's aide by day and a waitress at night, with dark circles under her eyes, testifying to her exhaustion. But this morning, seeing her boys' excitement, she felt only determination. "Everyone ready?" she asked, grabbing her keys. "Remember our tree farm rules?" "Stay together," the boys chorused. "No running off," added Ethan. "Be careful with the trees," Noah continued. "And we only get a tree we can afford," Lucas finished, his face serious. "That's right," Melissa nodded, helping them zip their winter coats. "Pine Valley Tree Farm has the most beautiful trees in the county, but we need to find one that fits our budget." The drive to Pine Valley took 20 minutes, filled with the boys singing Christmas carols from the back seat. As they turned onto the tree farm's long driveway, the triplets pressed their faces against the windows. "Look at all the lights!" Noah gasped. "And the candy canes!" Ethan pointed to the striped poles lining the entrance. Melissa parked her old sedan between shiny SUVs and new model cars. Pine Valley Tree Farm was known for serving the wealthiest families in the area, but she wanted her boys to have the best tree she could afford. "Remember, we have $75, she reminded them as they climbed out of the car. "So we need to find a tree with a green tag, okay?" The boys nodded seriously before their excitement took over again. They walked through the entrance arch, decorated with twinkling lights and fresh garlands. The scent of pine filled the air as they entered the tree section. "Can we look around, Mom?" "Please?" Lucas asked, already eyeing the rows of fragrant trees. "Stay where I can see you," Melissa agreed, watching as they darted between the trees, playing an impromptu game of hide-and-seek. "Mom! Mom! We found one!" Noah's voice called out after several minutes. Melissa followed his voice to find her 3 sons standing proudly beside a 6-foot pine tree. It wasn't the tallest or fullest, but it was perfectly shaped with no bare spots. "Look, it has a green tag," Ethan said, pointing to the price tag. $70. Melissa checked the tag herself and smiled with relief. "It's perfect, boys. Good job finding one in our budget." "Can we take it home now?" Lucas asked, bouncing on his toes. "Yes, let's go pay for it," Melissa said, guiding them toward the checkout area. The sales counter was decorated with expensive ornaments and garlands. Behind it stood a tall, elegantly dressed woman with perfectly styled blonde hair. Her name tag read, Eleanor Prescott, Manager. "Good morning," Eleanor greeted them with a bright smile. "Did you find a tree you like?" "Yes, we'd like that one with the green tag," Melissa said, pointing to their chosen tree. She began counting out the crumpled bills from her wallet. Eleanor's smile faltered as she watched Melissa count the money. Her eyes took in Melissa's worn coat and the boys' hand-me-down winter gear. "Oh, I'm so sorry," Eleanor said, her voice suddenly cold. "That tree is actually reserved for another customer." Melissa frowned. "But there's no reserved sign on it." "An oversight on our part," Eleanor replied smoothly. "The Hendersons always get that size tree. They'll be picking it up this afternoon." "Maybe we can find another one?" Melissa suggested, looking back at the dozens of similar trees in the lot. Eleanor's eyes narrowed slightly. "I'm afraid all our trees in that price range are spoken for. We have some lovely premium trees starting at $150. "But we only have $75, Ethan said, his logical mind trying to solve the problem. "That's not enough," Eleanor said bluntly. "Perhaps you might try the supermarket lot. They have more affordable options." Melissa felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment as she recognized what was happening. Eleanor didn't want their business. The triplets' faces fell as they realized they wouldn't be getting their Christmas tree. "Come on, boys," Melissa said quietly, taking Noah's hand as his eyes filled with tears. "We'll find a tree somewhere else." "But Mom, we want this one," Lucas protested, his voice catching. "I know, sweetie," Melissa whispered, leading them toward the exit. "Sometimes people just don't want to help us." Tears froze on Noah's cheeks in the cold December air as they walked toward their car. Ethan was trying to be brave, but his lower lip trembled. Lucas kicked angrily at the snow. "It's not fair," he muttered. "We'll find another tree," Melissa promised, though her own disappointment was hard to hide. "Maybe not today, but—" The sound of tires on the gravel parking lot interrupted her. A sleek, black Range Rover pulled into a space near them. The driver's door opened and a tall, well-dressed man stepped out. Melissa froze, her heart suddenly pounding. The man was in his mid-30s, with dark hair touched by silver at the temples. He wore an expensive coat and leather gloves. As he turned toward the entrance, he noticed the crying children and paused. His eyes moved from the boys to Melissa, and she saw the exact moment recognition dawned on his face. "Melissa?" he said, his voice barely audible. She couldn't move, couldn't speak. It had been 9 years since she'd seen Michael Bennett. 9 years since their brief but intense relationship had ended when he left for Seattle. Michael stared at the triplets, his hazel eyes, identical to the boys, widening in shock. He looked from Ethan to Noah to Lucas, taking in their faces, their dimples, the shape of their eyes, the same eyes as his. He began, but words seemed to fail him. Lucas moved closer to his mother, suddenly protective. "Mom, who is this man?" Michael's hands trembled as he took a step closer. "Melissa?" he whispered again, his voice catching as he stared at the 3 small faces that mirrored his own, the truth hitting him like an avalanche of everything he'd missed in the past 8 years. Time seemed to stand still in the Pine Valley Tree Farm parking lot. Melissa's grip tightened around Noah's small hand as Michael Bennett stood before them, his face pale with shock. "These are your sons?" Michael asked softly, his eyes never leaving the 3 identical faces staring back at him. Before Melissa could answer, Eleanor Prescott rushed out from the sales office, her high heels clicking rapidly across the frozen gravel. "Mr. Bennett! What a surprise!" Eleanor called out, her cold demeanor suddenly transformed into eager friendliness. "We weren't expecting you until next week's inspection." Michael tore his gaze away from the boys reluctantly. "Inspection?" "For the quarterly review," Eleanor said, smoothing her designer blazer. "As the owner, I assume you'd want to check how your investment is performing before the holiday rush." The triplets looked up at Melissa with confused expressions. "Owner?" Melissa whispered. Michael nodded slowly. "I bought Pine Valley 6 months ago. I kept the current management to run daily operations while I handled the business side from a distance." His eyes narrowed as he turned to Eleanor. "What happened here? Why are these customers leaving upset?" Eleanor's smile faltered. "Oh, just a misunderstanding about inventory. That particular tree was reserved for the Henderson family." "That's not true," Ethan said firmly. "There was no reserved sign on it." Michael looked down at Ethan, momentarily stunned by the boy's direct gaze, so similar to his own. He quickly regained his composure and addressed Eleanor. "Do we have a policy of turning away customers who can afford our trees?" he asked, his voice controlled but firm. "Of course not, but then why did I just witness these boys crying as they left our farm without a tree?" Michael's tone left no room for excuses. Eleanor's cheeks flushed. I was trying to maintain our premium clientele. By discriminating against customers based on their appearance." Michael's voice rose slightly. "That's not how I do business, Ms. Prescott. Everyone is welcome at Pine Valley regardless of what they're wearing or how they pay." Lucas tugged at Melissa's sleeve. "Mom, can we go now?" he whispered. Michael overheard and his expression softened. "Please don't leave. I'd like to make this right." Melissa hesitated, still processing the shock of seeing Michael after all these years, the father of her children who had no idea they existed until this moment. "Who are you?" Noah asked Michael directly, curiosity overcoming his shyness. Michael looked to Melissa, silently asking permission to answer. She gave a slight nod. "My name is Michael Bennett. I'm an old friend of your mom's." "From a long time ago," Melissa added quickly. Ethan studied Michael's face with analytical precision. "You have eyes like ours." "Yes," Michael said softly. "I do." Eleanor cleared her throat awkwardly. "Shall I help them select another tree?" "On the house, of course." "That won't be necessary," Melissa said firmly. "We don't need charity." "Boys, let's go." "Please," Michael said, stepping forward. "At least let me offer you dinner. We clearly have a lot to talk about." The boys looked eagerly at their mother. "Can we, Mom?" "Please?" Noah asked. Melissa saw the hope in her son's eyes and felt her resolve weakening. "Fine. Dinner, that's all." "The Oak Ridge Grill at 6? Michael suggested. "We'll be there," Melissa replied, guiding her sons toward their car. "And Ms. Prescott," Michael added without looking at Eleanor, "we'll discuss Pine Valley's customer service policies tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock sharp." The Oak Ridge Grill was warm and inviting, decorated with twinkling lights for the holiday season. Michael arrived early and secured a corner booth away from other diners. His hands shook slightly as he checked his watch for the third time. At exactly 6 o'clock, the door opened. Melissa entered with the 3 boys who had clearly been freshly scrubbed and changed into their best clothes. "You came," Michael said, standing to greet them. "We said we would," Melissa replied simply. The boys slid into the booth, eyeing Michael with varying degrees of curiosity and caution. "This place is fancy," Lucas observed, looking around at the holiday decorations. "They make the best chocolate milkshakes in town," Michael told them, remembering his own childhood visits. After ordering, an awkward silence fell over the table. Ethan broke it with direct precision. "Were you really friends with our mom?" Michael nodded. "Yes, very good friends actually. 8 years ago," Melissa added, giving Michael a meaningful look. Understanding dawned on his face. 8 years. 8.5, she corrected quietly. Noah, always sensitive to emotions, looked between the adults. "Are you sad?" "No," Michael answered quickly. "Just surprised. I've been away for a long time." Their food arrived, temporarily distracting the boys. Michael leaned closer to Melissa. "We need to talk," he whispered. "Not now," she replied, glancing at the boys. "Do you live in that big car?" Lucas asked Michael suddenly. Michael smiled. "No, I'm staying at a cabin near Pine Valley. I live in Seattle usually." "That's very far away," Ethan noted. "Yes, it is," Michael agreed, his eyes fixed on Melissa. "Too far, I'm realizing now." As the boys finished their desserts, Melissa took a deep breath. "Why don't you three go look at the fish tank by the entrance for a few minutes? I need to talk to Mr. Bennett alone." Once the boys were out of earshot but still visible, Melissa turned to Michael. "I tried to find you," she said simply, "when I found out I was pregnant." Michael's face paled. "What? How? Your phone number was disconnected. Your social media accounts were gone. It was like you disappeared." Michael ran his hand through his hair. "My business partner and I had a falling out. I lost everything. I had to start over completely, change my number, move cities." "I wrote to your parents," Melissa continued. "They never told me," Michael said, his voice hollow. "They probably thought it was better I didn't know. They never approved of any of my choices." "I was on my own," Melissa said flatly. "I did what I had to do." "They're my sons," Michael whispered, the reality finally sinking in completely. "Biologically, yes," Melissa acknowledged. Michael pulled out his wallet and removed a business card. His hand trembled as he placed it on the table. "I didn't know I had a family," he said, his voice breaking slightly. "But now that I do, I won't disappear again. That is, if you'll let me be part of their lives." Melissa stared at the card for a long moment before slowly picking it up. "The boys need stability," she finally said. "Not promises that might be broken." "I understand," Michael replied, "but they also deserve to know their father. And I deserve a chance to know them." Melissa watched her sons by the fish tank, Ethan explaining something to his brothers, Noah smiling at the colorful fish, Lucas pretending to swim alongside them. For 8 years they'd asked about their father. For 8 years she'd told them he was away on important business. "We'll take this slowly," she said finally. "Very slowly." Michael nodded, relief washing over his face. "That's all I'm asking for. A chance." As Melissa called the boys back to the table, she noticed how they studied Michael's face, unconsciously seeking similarities to their own. She wondered how much longer she could avoid the truth, and whether she should even try. The drive home from the Oak Ridge Grill was quiet. Melissa glanced in her rearview mirror at the 3 tired boys in the back seat. They had peppered Michael with questions throughout dinner, and now their small heads were nodding with exhaustion. "Mom, is Mr. Bennett going to visit us again?" Noah asked sleepily. Melissa gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Maybe. We'll see." The next morning, Melissa woke early and made coffee in the small kitchen of their apartment. The building was old with peeling paint and temperamental plumbing, but she kept their 2-bedroom unit spotlessly clean. The boys shared the larger bedroom, while she took the smaller one. A knock at the door surprised her. It was only 9 o'clock. When she opened it, Michael stood there with 3 large shopping bags. "Good morning," he said. "I hope it's not too early." "The boys are still sleeping," Melissa said, reluctantly stepping aside to let him in. Michael looked around the apartment, taking in the worn furniture and the carefully patched walls. "I should have called first," he said. "Yes, you should have." Melissa crossed her arms. "What's in the bags?" "Just some things I thought the boys might like," Michael said. "I noticed at dinner that Ethan likes science, Noah enjoys art, and Lucas talked about soccer." Before Melissa could respond, the sound of running feet came from the hallway. The triplets appeared, still in their pajamas, eyes wide at the sight of their visitor. "Mr. Bennett!" Noah exclaimed. "You came to our house!" "I brought you guys some things," Michael said, smiling nervously. "If that's okay with your mom." Melissa sighed. "Let's see what Mr. Bennett brought." The boys gathered around as Michael opened the bags. For Ethan, there was a complete science kit with a microscope and slides. Noah received a set of professional art supplies with paints, brushes, and a real canvas. Lucas got a new soccer ball and shin guards. "These are very expensive gifts," Melissa said quietly to Michael as the boys excitedly examined their presents. "I've missed 8 birthdays and 8 Christmases," Michael replied. "It's not even close to enough." While the boys were distracted, Michael touched Melissa's arm gently. "Can we talk in private for a moment?" They moved to the small kitchen, still within sight of the boys but out of earshot. "I want to tell them who I am," Michael said directly. Melissa shook her head. "It's too soon. They barely know you." "But I'm their father," Michael insisted. "Biologically, yes, but being a real father is about more than DNA." Melissa's voice was firm. "They need time to get to know you first. We need to take this slowly." Michael looked disappointed but nodded. "I understand. Can I at least spend time with them today? Maybe take them to the park?" Melissa considered his request. "Okay, but I'm coming too." An hour later, they arrived at Oak Leaf Park. The boys raced ahead to the playground while Melissa and Michael followed more slowly. "Thank you for letting me do this," Michael said. "It means a lot." "They've always wondered about their father," Melissa admitted. "I told them he was away on important business." "What was I like in their imagination?" "A superhero, a spy, a ship captain." Melissa smiled slightly. "They took turns deciding what exciting job kept you away." Michael's expression grew serious. "And what did you tell them about why I never contacted them?" "I said you didn't know how to reach us," she answered, which was true in a way. At the playground, Michael awkwardly tried to push the boys on the swings. His movements were stiff, unpracticed. "Higher!" Lucas demanded. "I want to go really high." "Be careful," Melissa called out automatically. "I won't let him fall," Michael promised. After swinging, Lucas challenged Michael to a soccer game in the open field. To everyone's surprise, Michael was actually quite good. "You play soccer too?" Lucas asked, impressed. "I played in college," Michael admitted. "I was never great, but I loved it." Ethan sat on a bench watching them play. Michael noticed and went over to him. "Don't you want to join the game?" he asked. "I like watching better," Ethan said. "Do you know why the sky is blue?" Michael thought for a moment. "It has to do with how light travels through the air." "That's right!" Ethan's eyes lit up. "But why does it look more blue in some places than others?" Michael pulled out his phone. "Let's look it up together." While Michael and Ethan researched sky colors, Noah sat drawing in a notebook. Michael glanced over at his sketch. "That's really good," he said. "What are you drawing?" Noah showed him the paper. It was a picture of 5 stick figures, 3 small ones, 1 woman, and 1 space where another figure could be. "It's our family," Noah explained. "But I left space here just in case." Michael swallowed hard and looked at Melissa, who had overheard. Her expression was unreadable. The next day, Melissa worked her morning shift at Oak Ridge Diner. She had just served a table of regular customers when she noticed them whispering and looking her way. "Did you hear about Michael Bennett's new family?" one woman said, not bothering to lower her voice. "Supposedly he just found out he has 3 kids with that waitress." "How convenient for her," another replied, "now that he's rich and buying up half the town." Melissa felt her cheeks burn as she retreated to the kitchen. Sandra, the cook, gave her a sympathetic look. "Ignore them," Sandra advised. "People always talk." "It's not what they think," Melissa said, blinking back tears. The diner door opened and Eleanor Prescott walked in with 2 stylishly dressed women. She spotted Melissa immediately and smiled coldly. "Well, if it isn't Melissa Thompson," Eleanor said loudly. "You must be very busy these days, what with your sudden connection to Michael Bennett." Melissa straightened her spine. "Would you like a table, Miss Prescott?" "We're just here for coffee," Eleanor replied, leaning closer. It's amazing how some women can target successful men. Michael is such a generous person, so easy to take advantage of." Melissa's hands shook as she poured their coffee. She managed to finish her shift, but by the time she got home, she was fuming. She was surprised to find Michael waiting outside her apartment, talking with an elderly woman. "Melissa," the woman called out, "I was just meeting this nice young man who says he knows you." "Mrs. Jenkins," Melissa greeted her neighbor with a forced smile. "I see you've met Michael." Mrs. Jenkins had been like a grandmother to the triplets since they were babies, watching them when Melissa worked nights. "Such a nice young man," Mrs. Jenkins repeated, her sharp eyes missing nothing as she looked between Melissa and Michael. "He reminds me of your boys." "Could we talk inside?" Michael asked Melissa quietly. Once inside, Melissa confronted him. "Eleanor Prescott came to the diner today. She's telling everyone I'm some kind of gold digger who trapped you." Michael's expression darkened. "I'll speak to her immediately. This is unacceptable." "This is exactly why I wanted to take things slowly," Melissa said. "Your world is complicated. My life was simple before you showed up again." "Let me help you," Michael offered. "Financially, I mean, it's the least I can do." "No," Melissa said firmly. "I've managed for 8 years without your money. I don't need it now." Michael looked around the apartment, noticing the dripping faucet and the crack in the ceiling. "At least let me fix some things around here, for the boys' sake." "We're fine as we are," Melissa insisted. "Please respect my wishes." 2 days later, Melissa came home from her night shift to find plumbers and electricians in her apartment. The leaky faucet was replaced, the bathroom tiles fixed, and the faulty wiring repaired. "What is this?" she demanded when Michael arrived shortly after. "Basic repairs," he said. "Nothing fancy, just making things safe." "I told you not to do this," Melissa said, her voice rising. "You can't just swoop in and fix everything with your checkbook. What I needed was for you to be there for the past 8 years of doctor visits, nightmares, and first days of school. Things your money can't buy back." Michael's face fell as her words hit home. "I'm sorry, Melissa. I'm trying to do the right thing now." "By ignoring what I asked?" Tears threatened to fall. "This isn't about repairs or gifts. It's about respect and boundaries." "You're right," Michael admitted quietly. "I overstepped. I just want to make things better for them, and for you." "Then listen to me," Melissa said. "Being a father isn't about buying things. It's about being present, being consistent, and putting their needs first." Michael nodded slowly. "I want to learn how to do that. Will you help me?" Melissa looked at him, seeing genuine regret in his eyes. "I will. But we do this my way, at my pace. Understood?" "Completely," Michael promised, and for the first time since he'd reappeared in their lives, Melissa thought perhaps he really did understand. Over the next few days, Michael kept his promise to respect Melissa's boundaries. He called before visiting and always asked permission before bringing gifts for the boys. The triplets, however, were quickly becoming attached to him. Every morning at breakfast, Noah asked the same question. "Is Mr. Bennett coming today?" Melissa watched from the kitchen as Ethan carefully placed a science project on the coffee table. "This is for Mr. Bennett to see," he explained seriously. "I want to show him how I used the microscope." Lucas had taken to practicing soccer moves in their small living room, knocking over a lamp twice. "I need to get better before Mr. Bennett comes back," he insisted when Melissa scolded him. On Wednesday afternoon, Melissa's phone rang while she was getting ready for her evening shift at the diner. "The boys are asking if I can come over tonight," Michael said when she answered. "Would that be okay?" Melissa sighed. "I'm working until 11. Mrs. Jenkins is watching them." "I could watch them instead," Michael offered quickly. "If you're comfortable with that." Melissa hesitated. The boys would be thrilled, but she wasn't sure if she was ready to leave them alone with Michael. "Please, Mom," Lucas called out, having overheard the conversation. "Let Mr. Bennett come over." "Fine," she relented, "but they need to finish their homework and be in bed by 8:30. When Michael arrived an hour later, the boys greeted him like a returning hero. Noah showed him new drawings, Ethan demonstrated his science project, and Lucas insisted on displaying his improved soccer skills. "I have some news," Michael told them as they settled at the kitchen table for dinner. "I'm going to stay in Oak Ridge longer than I planned. I've rented a cabin near Pine Valley." "For how long?" Noah asked excitedly. "Through the holidays at least," Michael replied. "I need to oversee some improvements at the tree farm." "Will you still visit us?" Ethan asked. "As often as your mom allows," Michael promised, glancing at Melissa, who was putting on her coat to leave for work. "Be good for Mr. Bennett," she told the boys, kissing each one goodbye. To Michael, she added quietly, "Call me if there are any problems." "We'll be fine," he assured her. That night at the diner, Melissa found herself checking her phone frequently, expecting problems. Instead, Michael sent her photos of the boys doing homework, building a fort in the living room, and finally tucked into bed. "All asleep," his final text read. "You have amazing kids, Melissa." She smiled despite herself. The boys needed a father figure, that much was clear. But could she trust Michael not to disappear again? What happened when his business in Oak Ridge was finished? The next morning, Michael invited the triplets to visit Pine Valley on Saturday to help with Christmas preparations. "Can we go, Mom?" "Please," Lucas begged. "We can help put lights on the trees," Noah added. Melissa agreed reluctantly. On Saturday morning, Michael picked them up in his Range Rover, the boys piling in excitedly while Melissa gave last-minute instructions. "I have a short shift at the hospital. I'll meet you at Pine Valley around noon." At the tree farm, Michael showed the boys the different types of Christmas trees. "This is a Fraser fir. Feel the needles. They're soft on top, but stiff underneath." "This one smells the best," Noah declared, sniffing a balsam fir. "You have a good nose," Michael told him. "Balsam firs are known for their scent." Eleanor Prescott watched from the office window as Michael and the boys toured the farm. Her eyes narrowed as she pulled out her phone and made a call. "Mr. Walters, this is Eleanor Prescott from Pine Valley. I think you should know about some concerning developments with Michael." 2 hours later, a sleek black car pulled into the tree farm. A tall man in an expensive suit stepped out, surveying the property with a critical eye. "David!" Michael called out, surprised. "What are you doing here?" David Walters, Michael's business partner from Seattle, shook hands stiffly. "I heard you've extended your stay. I wanted to check on our investment." Michael introduced David to the boys who were helping string lights on the smaller display trees. "These are Ethan, Noah, and Lucas," he said proudly. David's expression remained neutral. "Eleanor mentioned you'd made some new connections here." "Let's talk in the office," Michael suggested, noticing David's tone. Eleanor greeted David warmly when they entered, offering coffee and sitting close to him during the impromptu meeting. "Michael, we have 5 projects in Seattle requiring your attention," David said directly. "The Portland development is behind schedule. The investors are asking questions." "I've been handling everything remotely," Michael replied. "Not effectively," David countered. "Eleanor tells me you've been distracted by your sudden family situation." Michael's eyes flashed to Eleanor, who pretended to study some paperwork. "My personal life isn't relevant to our business discussions," Michael said firmly. "It is when it affects your judgment," David argued, his voice rising. "You bought this tree farm as a quick investment to flip, not to play family man with some waitress and her kids." Unknown to both men, Ethan had approached the office door carrying hot chocolate for Michael. He froze as he heard David's words. "Those boys might not even be yours," David continued. "Have you considered that? This woman shows up after 8 years, just when you're successful, with 3 supposed sons?" "That's enough," Michael shouted, slamming his hand on the desk. "You don't know anything about Melissa or my sons." Ethan dropped the mug of hot chocolate and ran, tears streaming down his face. 15 minutes later, Noah found Michael. "I can't find Ethan," he said worriedly. "He was supposed to help me with the lights." Michael immediately organized a search. When Melissa arrived at noon, she found the tree farm in chaos. "What happened?" she demanded, seeing Michael's panicked expression. "Ethan is missing," Michael explained quickly. "He overheard an argument. Some things were said." "What things?" Melissa interrupted, her face pale. "About whether the boys are really mine," Michael admitted. "My business partner from Seattle, it doesn't matter. We need to find Ethan." The entire staff joined the search. Eleanor reluctantly participated, checking the office buildings. David, looking uncomfortable, searched the parking areas. Melissa and Michael took the northern section of the tree farm. "He likes quiet places to think," Melissa told Michael as they called Ethan's name. "When he's upset, he finds somewhere peaceful." "The greenhouse," Michael suggested suddenly. "It's warm and quiet." "I showed it to him earlier. He was interested in how the seedlings grow." They rushed to the large glass building at the edge of the property. Inside, rows of tiny tree seedlings grew in neat containers. At the far end, they found Ethan sitting on a wooden stool, his face tear-stained. "Ethan!" Melissa rushed to him, pulling him into a tight hug. "We were so worried." "Why didn't you tell us?" Ethan asked, his voice small. "I heard that man. He said Mr. Bennett might be our dad." Michael knelt beside Ethan. "It's complicated, buddy." "But is it true?" Ethan persisted, looking from Michael to Melissa. "Are you our father?" The greenhouse fell silent, except for the soft patter of snow on the glass roof, as Michael looked desperately at Melissa, both of them knowing that whatever answer they gave would change all their lives forever. Melissa took a deep breath and nodded slightly to Michael. "Yes, Ethan," Michael said, his voice gentle. "I am your father." "Our real father?" Ethan asked, needing confirmation. "Yes," Melissa said softly. "Your real father." "Why didn't you tell us?" Ethan's logical mind was trying to process this huge revelation. "We were going to," Michael explained. "We just wanted to wait for the right time." "We should tell your brothers together," Melissa added. "They deserve to hear it at the same time." Ethan considered this, then nodded solemnly. "Lucas will be mad. He said we don't need a dad." "He might be upset at first," Melissa acknowledged. "But what matters is that we're honest with each other now." As they walked back to find the others, Ethan slipped his small hand into Michael's. "I always wanted a dad who knows about science," he said quietly. Michael squeezed Ethan's hand gently, his eyes meeting Melissa's over their son's head. The truth was finally out, at least for one of their boys. There was no going back now. Back at the Pine Valley main building, Noah and Lucas rushed to their brother as soon as they saw him. "Ethan! Where were you?" Noah hugged him tightly. "We looked everywhere," Lucas added, trying to sound angry but relief clear in his voice. Michael and Melissa exchanged a meaningful look. "Boys, we need to talk to you about something important," Melissa said. "Let's go somewhere private." They gathered in Michael's office, the three boys sitting on a small couch while the adults pulled up chairs to face them. Ethan looked at his brothers with wide eyes, already knowing what was coming. "Noah, Lucas," Melissa began gently, "remember how you've always asked about your father? About who he is and where he's been?" The boys nodded, suddenly serious. "Well," Melissa continued, taking a deep breath, "Michael is your father." Noah's mouth fell open. Lucas crossed his arms, his expression guarded. "For real?" Noah whispered. "Yes," Michael confirmed. "I'm your dad." "I knew it," Ethan said. "That's why we have the same eyes." Noah jumped up and threw his arms around Michael's neck. "I have a dad!" he exclaimed, tears of joy streaking his cheeks. Lucas remained on the couch, frowning. "If you're our dad, why weren't you here before? Where were you when Mom had to work 2 jobs? when Ethan was in the hospital with asthma. "Lucas," Melissa warned gently. "No, it's a fair question," Michael said. He knelt in front of Lucas. "I didn't know about you boys. When I left Oak Ridge, I didn't know your mom was going to have you. My phone number changed and we lost touch. If I had known, I would have been here." "Really?" Lucas asked skeptically. "Really," Michael promised. "I would have been at every soccer game, every school event, everything." "Can I call you Dad?" Noah asked eagerly. Michael looked at Melissa, who nodded slightly. "If you want to," he told Noah. "I'm going to stick with Michael for now," Lucas declared, standing up. "I need to think about this." "That's okay," Michael assured him. "You can take all the time you need." As the family moment concluded, a knock came at the office door. David Walters stood there, looking uncomfortable. "We need to talk," David said to Michael. "Boys, why don't you go with your mom for some hot chocolate?" Michael suggested. "I'll join you in a few minutes." When the door closed behind them, David spoke directly. "What are you doing, Michael?" "We have million-dollar projects waiting in Seattle, and you're playing house in Minnesota." Michael's expression hardened. "Those boys are my sons, David. My family." "Family you didn't know existed until 3 days ago," David countered. "Be reasonable. You can support them financially without derailing everything we've built." "I'm not abandoning them again," Michael stated firmly. "You never abandoned them. You didn't know they existed." "It doesn't matter. I know now, and I'm staying in Oak Ridge." David sighed heavily. "For how long?" "Indefinitely," Michael replied. "We need to restructure our business approach. I can handle most things remotely, and I'll fly to Seattle when absolutely necessary." "And our investors?" "We'll understand that family comes first," Michael concluded. "If you can't work with that reality, David, then perhaps we need to reevaluate our partnership." David studied Michael's determined expression. "You're serious about this?" "Completely." After a long moment, David nodded. "All right. We'll make it work. But you need to be available for the Portland presentation next month." "I will be," Michael promised. "Now, if you'll excuse me, my sons are waiting." Eleanor watched from her office as David's car left the parking lot. Through the window, she could see Michael and the 3 boys walking among the Christmas trees, laughing together. Her plans to separate Michael from his newfound family had failed. "Time for a new approach," she murmured, turning to her computer. She began typing rapidly, creating a document titled Pine Valley Christmas Festival. If she couldn't drive Michael away from Melissa and the boys directly, perhaps she could use the upcoming festival to showcase her value to the business and expose Melissa as an unfit partner for someone of Michael's stature. The following weekend, Michael took the boys shopping at the Oak Ridge Mall. "Each of you can pick out one thing you really want," he told them as they entered the large department store. 2 hours later, they returned to Melissa's apartment with far more than 3 items. Michael carried bags filled with new winter coats, boots, toys, and clothes. "What is all this?" Melissa asked, staring at the mountain of packages. "Dad said we needed proper winter gear," Ethan explained. Melissa raised an eyebrow at Michael. "Dad?" "It just came out," Michael said with a small shrug. "And they did need winter gear. Lucas's coat is too small, and Noah's boots have holes." "I know what my children need," Melissa said quietly. "And I would have bought those things when I got paid next week." "I'm just trying to help," Michael replied. "By making me look inadequate?" Melissa's voice remained low to avoid the boys hearing. "You can't just shower them with expensive things after being absent for 8 years." "I'm not trying to buy their love," Michael insisted. "I want to provide for them. I have rights as their father." Melissa froze. "Rights? Is that what this is about?" "No, that's not what I meant." Michael backtracked quickly. "Because if you're planning some kind of custody battle—" "I'm not," Michael interrupted. "I just want to be part of their lives. To contribute." Melissa took a deep breath. Then please check with me before buying them a complete new wardrobe. We're supposed to be parenting together, not competing. 3 days later, the elementary school held its annual Christmas play. Michael arrived early, securing seats near the front. When Melissa arrived, she hesitated before sitting beside him. "The boys are so excited you're here," she admitted. "They've never had anyone but me attend their school events." Mrs. Brooks, the boys' teacher, approached them with a warm smile. "You must be Mr. Thompson. I've heard so much about you from the boys this week." "Actually, it's Bennett. Michael Bennett," he corrected gently. "Oh, I'm sorry." Mrs. Brooks looked flustered. "I just assumed—" The boys suddenly started talking about their father, and I thought, "We're not together," Melissa clarified quickly. "Michael is the boy's father, but we're not a couple." Michael's smile faltered slightly at Melissa's hasty clarification. The play was a simple retelling of A Christmas Carol, with Ethan playing Tiny Tim, Noah as a caroler, and Lucas as a townsperson. When it ended, the parents gathered in the gymnasium for refreshments. "Dad, did you see me?" Noah called out, running to Michael. "You were the best caroler on stage," Michael assured him. Ethan joined them, still wearing his costume. "My line was perfect." "It was," Michael agreed. "You remembered every word." Lucas hung back, watching his brothers interact with Michael. While Melissa spoke with Mrs. Brooks, Michael approached Lucas. "You did great tonight," he offered. Lucas shrugged. "I only had 2 lines." "Sometimes the smallest parts are the hardest," Michael said. "You have to make an impact with very little." Lucas looked up, surprised. "That's what I told Noah." He didn't believe me. "Want to show me that soccer move you were practicing?" Michael asked, noticing a ball in the corner of the gym. For the next 15 minutes, Lucas demonstrated his footwork, becoming more animated as Michael offered tips and encouragement. "You know a lot about soccer," Lucas admitted grudgingly. "I played through college," Michael told him. "Not professionally or anything, but I loved the game. Maybe we could play sometime," Lucas suggested casually. "If you're not too busy." "I'm never too busy for you," Michael replied seriously. As Melissa gathered the boys to leave, she smiled, seeing Lucas finally opening up to Michael. Maybe, she thought, this could work after all. The hopeful feeling lasted until the next morning, when a certified letter arrived at her apartment. The return address showed a law firm in Seattle. With trembling hands, Melissa opened it to find a formal document regarding establishment of paternity and visitation rights. The letter stated that Michael Bennett was seeking legal recognition as the father of the triplets, with a structured visitation schedule. When Michael arrived that afternoon, Melissa thrust the letter at him. "Is this why you've been so generous? So you could build a case for taking my boys?" Michael stared at the document in confusion. "I never authorized this," he insisted as he read the legal paper. "I didn't ask for any legal action." "Then why is your lawyer sending me custody papers?" Melissa demanded. "It's not custody, it's just establishing paternity and visitation," Michael said, still looking bewildered. "And I didn't request this. My legal team must have done it automatically when I told them about the boys." "Call them," Melissa ordered. "Now." Michael pulled out his phone and dialed immediately. After a heated conversation with his attorney, he hung up. "They did it as a standard procedure to protect my interests," he explained. "I've told them to withdraw it immediately. Melissa, I swear I didn't know about this." But the damage was done. Melissa's eyes had already gone cold with the confirmation of her deepest fear. That opening the door to Michael meant risking losing her children to the man who could give them everything she couldn't. "I've fired them," Michael said the next morning, standing outside Melissa's apartment door. "I fired the entire legal team." Melissa stood in the doorway, arms crossed, not inviting him in. "That doesn't change what happened." "I know." Michael ran his hand through his hair in frustration. "But you have to believe me. I never asked them to send those papers." From inside the apartment, Noah's voice called out, "Is that Dad?" "Let him in, Mom." "Please," Michael added quietly. The boys are expecting me to take them to Pine Valley today. We planned to help with the Christmas trees, remember? Reluctantly, Melissa stepped aside. The triplets were already waiting, wearing their new winter coats and boots. "Dad!" Noah rushed forward, hugging Michael around the waist. "Are we still going to the tree farm?" Michael glanced at Melissa. "That depends on your mom." Lucas studied both adults' faces. "Are you guys fighting?" "No," Melissa answered quickly. "We just had a misunderstanding." "About what?" Ethan asked directly. "Adult stuff," Michael replied. "Nothing for you to worry about." The tension in the room was palpable. Finally, Melissa sighed. "Yes, you can go to Pine Valley today, but you'll be back by dinner time." As the boys cheered, Michael mouthed, "Thank you," to Melissa. She gave him a curt nod in response. At Pine Valley, Eleanor was directing staff to begin setting up for the annual Christmas festival. When she saw Michael arrive with the boys, her smile became fixed. "Mr. Bennett!" "What a surprise," she greeted him. "I thought we were meeting this afternoon to discuss the festival plans." "We are," Michael confirmed. "I'm just showing the boys how we prepare the trees for display." "I see." Eleanor's eyes moved over the triplets. "Well, there's plenty of adult work to do. Perhaps the children could color in the office while we talk." "We're not babies," Lucas protested. "We can help." "They're staying with me," Michael said firmly. "They're learning the business." Eleanor's smile tightened further. "Of course. Family business. How sweet." Throughout the morning, Eleanor found reasons to interrupt Michael's time with the boys, bringing urgent questions and paperwork. Finally, she cornered him near the hot chocolate stand. "I've been meaning to tell you," she said, leaning close. "I've invited several media outlets to cover the festival. It will be wonderful publicity for Pine Valley." "What kind of media?" Michael asked. "Local newspapers, a few regional TV stations," Eleanor replied casually. "They're particularly interested in you, of course." The successful businessman giving back to his hometown. "I'm not looking for personal publicity," Michael said. "Oh, but your story is so compelling," Eleanor persisted, "especially with your newfound family." Speaking of which, Melissa seems upset today. Trouble in paradise? Michael's expression hardened. "My personal life isn't relevant to the festival, Eleanor." "Of course not," she agreed quickly. "I just want what's best for you in the business. Some women can be so unreasonable when it comes to successful men like yourself." "Melissa is the most reasonable person I know," Michael replied coldly, "and I'd appreciate if you focused on the festival, not my family situation." That evening, when Michael returned the boys to the apartment, Melissa was still distant. The boys noticed the tension immediately. "Why is Mom mad at you?" Noah asked as they removed their boots in the hallway. "Sometimes adults disagree," Michael explained carefully. "Is it because you weren't here before?" Lucas asked bluntly. "Because you left Mom alone?" "Lucas," Melissa cautioned from the kitchen doorway. "It's more complicated than that," Michael said gently. "But I promise I'm trying to make things right." After the boys went to their room, Michael approached Melissa. "Can we talk? Please?" "There's nothing to talk about," Melissa replied, keeping her voice low. "You say you didn't know about the legal letter. Fine, but it still happened." "I know you're scared," Michael said quietly. "You think I'm going to try to take the boys from you. Aren't you?" Melissa challenged. "You have money, influence, a big house. What judge wouldn't give you custody if you asked?" "I would never do that," Michael insisted. "They need their mother. You've been there for them every day of their lives." Melissa turned away, blinking back tears. "You should go." The next day at the diner, Melissa was distracted during her entire shift. She mixed up orders and broke a coffee mug. "Something's eating at you," Mrs. Jenkins observed as she sat at the counter for her daily coffee. The elderly woman had come in specifically to check on Melissa. "It's nothing," Melissa denied, wiping down the counter. "Nothing doesn't make you break dishes," Mrs. Jenkins said wisely. "This is about Michael Bennett, isn't it?" Melissa sighed. "He sent legal papers about the boys." "Did he now?" Mrs. Jenkins raised an eyebrow. "That doesn't sound like the man I met." "The one who looks at those boys like they hung the moon." "He says it was a mistake," Melissa admitted, "that his lawyers did it without asking him." "And you don't believe him?" "I don't know what to believe anymore," Melissa confessed. "Everything's happening so fast." Mrs. Jenkins reached across the counter and patted Melissa's hand. "Fear makes us push away the very things we need most, Melissa. I know you're protecting those boys, but they need their father. And from what I can see, he needs them too. What if he leaves again?" Melissa whispered her deepest fear. "What if he doesn't?" Mrs. Jenkins countered. "What if you're pushing away the best thing that could happen to your family?" That evening, Melissa made a decision. She called Michael. "The boys are decorating for Christmas tomorrow evening," she said. "They'd like you to help. If you want to." "I'd love to," Michael replied, relief evident in his voice. The following night, Michael arrived with a cardboard box full of ornaments. "What's that?" Ethan asked curiously. "Christmas decorations from when I was a kid," Michael explained. "My parents kept them all these years. I thought maybe we could add them to your tree." Noah peered into the box. "These look really old." Michael laughed. "They are. This one," he held up a small ceramic star, "I made when I was about your age." For the next 2 hours, the family decorated their small apartment. Michael hung lights while the boys arranged ornaments on their modest tree. Melissa watched them, seeing how naturally Michael fit into their lives. After the boys went to bed, Melissa made coffee and joined Michael on the couch. "Thank you for inviting me tonight," he said. "It means a lot." "Mrs. Jenkins thinks I'm pushing you away out of fear," Melissa admitted. "Are you?" "Maybe." She took a sip of coffee. "When you left Oak Ridge years ago, you never said goodbye. You just disappeared." Michael looked down at his hands. "My business was failing. I was going bankrupt. I didn't want to burden you with my problems." "So you just left?" Melissa's voice held years of hurt. "I thought I was doing the right thing," Michael said quietly. "I was ashamed. I had nothing to offer you. You could have told me that. I know that now." Michael looked up, his eyes sincere. "I made a terrible mistake. And then when I finally got back on my feet and tried to find you, you'd moved. No one knew where you'd gone." "I moved to Rochester for a year," Melissa revealed. "My aunt was sick. I took care of her until she died." "I wish I had known," Michael said. "About you, about the boys." "What happens now?" Melissa asked. "You have a life in Seattle." "Not anymore," Michael replied. "I've transferred most of my business operations here. I'm staying in Oak Ridge." "For how long?" "Permanently," Michael said firmly. "I missed 8 years with my sons. I won't miss any more." They sat in silence for a moment, something shifting between them. "My father left when I was 7, Michael said suddenly. "He just walked out. No explanation, no goodbye. I always swore I'd never do that to my own children." "But you didn't know about them," Melissa said softly. "It doesn't matter. They still grew up without a father." Michael's voice broke slightly. "I'm terrified of failing them now, of not knowing how to be the dad they need." Melissa reached out and touched his hand. "The fact that you're worried about it means you'll probably do just fine." They leaned toward each other, the wall between them crumbling slightly. Just as Michael moved closer, his phone rang loudly. He checked the screen and frowned. "It's Eleanor. She says it's urgent about the festival." "You should take it," Melissa said, pulling back. "I can call her back," Michael offered. "No, it's late anyway." Melissa stood up. "The festival is important for Pine Valley." Michael reluctantly answered the phone. "Eleanor, what's so urgent?" As he listened, his expression changed from annoyance to concern. "No, that won't work. Yes, I'll come by first thing tomorrow. No, it can't wait until then. As Michael slipped into business mode, Melissa watched him, wondering if there was room in his complicated life for 3 little boys who needed consistency more than grand gestures, and for a woman who had learned the hard way not to believe in second chances. Michael hung up the phone with a sigh. I need to go to Pine Valley early tomorrow. Eleanor says there's a problem with the festival layout. Is it serious? Melissa asked. Just another emergency that probably isn't really urgent, Michael replied. She's been creating a lot of those lately. You should get some rest then, Melissa said, walking him to the door. The boys will want to see you tomorrow after school. Michael paused in the doorway. Melissa, about tonight. I felt like we were finally talking, really talking. We were, she admitted. But your life is complicated. Mine is simple. It has to be for the boys. What if we could make it work? Michael asked. All of it? Melissa gave him a small smile. Good night, Michael. The week before the Christmas festival was the busiest of the year at Pine Valley Tree Farm. Michael spent long hours coordinating vendors, approving decorations, and reviewing security plans. The entire town of Oak Ridge was buzzing with excitement. Dad, look what we made! Noah called out when Michael visited the boys after school. The triplets proudly showed him hand-painted ornaments for the festival tree. These are wonderful, Michael said, carefully examining each one. We'll hang them in a special place where everyone can see them. We're practicing Christmas songs too, Ethan explained. For the children's choir at the festival. We have to sing in front of everyone, Lucas added, looking less enthusiastic than his brothers. You'll be great, Michael assured him. I'll be right there watching you. Later that afternoon, Michael met with Eleanor at Pine Valley to review the festival plans. She presented him with a thick binder of schedules and layouts. I've confirmed 7 media outlets, Eleanor announced proudly, including KTV from Minneapolis and the Star Tribune. That seems excessive for a local tree farm festival, Michael commented. Eleanor waved her hand dismissively. Trust me, this is the perfect opportunity to raise Pine Valley's profile. They're particularly interested in human interest stories. What do you mean by human interest? Michael asked, suddenly suspicious. Oh, you know, Eleanor said vaguely. Local business owner gives back to community, that sort of thing. Michael frowned but didn't press further. He had learned to be wary of Eleanor's schemes. So on Tuesday afternoon, David Walters returned to Oak Ridge. This time he met Michael at his cabin rather than at Pine Valley. You've gone native, David observed, noting the Christmas decorations Michael had put up. I've gone home, Michael corrected him. This is where I belong. David nodded thoughtfully. I can see that. You seem different, happier. I am, Michael admitted. Getting to know my sons has changed everything. And Melissa? David asked carefully. Michael smiled slightly. That's complicated. She still doesn't fully trust me, and I don't blame her. David cleared his throat awkwardly. Look, I owe you an apology for what I said before. About the boys. It was out of line. Yes, it was, Michael agreed, but I appreciate the apology. I've restructured the Seattle projects, David continued. You can oversee most of it remotely, just as you suggested. Thank you, Michael said. That means a lot to me. As they reviewed business matters, David mentioned something that caught Michael's attention. By the way, has Eleanor told you about her media contacts for the festival? She seems to have invited every reporter in Minnesota. She mentioned some media coverage, Michael replied. Why? Just be careful, David warned. When I spoke with one of the reporters who called our Seattle office, they seemed very interested in your surprise family story. Almost tabloid-like. Michael frowned. That's not the kind of publicity we want. Exactly, David agreed. I think Eleanor may have her own agenda. While Michael was preoccupied with festival planning, he continued working on a secret project. The vacant building next to the Oak Ridge Diner had been buzzing with construction activity for days. On Wednesday afternoon, Michael met with contractors inside the empty storefront. Everything's on schedule, the lead contractor assured him. We'll have the basic renovations done by Christmas, and the specialty medical equipment can be installed in January." Michael nodded, surveying the space that would soon become Oak Ridge's first pediatric clinic. "Perfect. Melissa has no idea?" "Not a clue," the contractor confirmed. "Everyone's been very discreet, just as you asked." Michael smiled, imagining Melissa's reaction to his surprise. The clinic would address the town's healthcare shortage and give her the opportunity to finish her nursing degree, something she had mentioned wanting to do before the triplets were born. On Thursday evening, the town square was bustling with activity as volunteers decorated for the festival. Melissa had adjusted her work schedule to help, and the boys were with Mrs. Jenkins. Michael spotted Melissa setting up the town's central Christmas tree. "Need some help?" he called, approaching with a string of lights. "Sure," she replied, looking more relaxed than she had in days. "I can't reach the top branches." They worked together in comfortable silence for a while, stringing lights and hanging ornaments. As the sky darkened, the twinkling lights created a magical atmosphere in the town square. "This reminds me of the Christmas festival when we first met," Michael said, handing Melissa a star ornament. 8 years ago," Melissa recalled. "You bought me hot chocolate at this very spot." "Best money I ever spent," Michael smiled. Melissa laughed softly. "You were so nervous, you spilled half of it on your shirt." "I was trying to impress the prettiest girl in Oak Ridge," Michael admitted. "I wasn't very smooth." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the years between them seemed to disappear. Michael moved closer, their faces just inches apart in the glow of the Christmas lights. Suddenly, a loud crash broke the moment. The ladder beside them wobbled dangerously as Eleanor appeared, a large box of decorations in her arms. "Oh my!" Eleanor exclaimed as the ladder tipped toward Melissa. "How clumsy of me!" Michael lunged forward, catching the ladder before it could hit Melissa. "Are you okay?" he asked urgently. "I'm fine," Melissa assured him, though her face was pale. "It missed me." Michael turned to Eleanor, his expression hard. "What were you thinking carrying that heavy box near an unstable ladder?" "It was an accident," Eleanor insisted, but her eyes held no remorse. "I didn't see the ladder until it was too late." "You should be more careful," Michael said coldly. "Someone could have been seriously hurt." Eleanor's false smile dropped slightly. "Well, thankfully your quick reflexes saved the day. How heroic." As Eleanor walked away, Michael helped Melissa down from the platform. "That wasn't an accident," Melissa said quietly. "No," Michael agreed grimly. "It wasn't." Melissa studied his face. "She doesn't like me very much. Eleanor doesn't like anyone who threatens her position," Michael explained. "And for some reason, she sees you as a threat." "Because of you," Melissa said. "Because of us." Michael didn't miss her use of the word us. It gave him hope. "Michael," Melissa said seriously, "I'm worried about this festival. Eleanor has been planning something, I can feel it." "David warned me about the media coverage she's arranged," Michael admitted. "She's invited reporters who seem very interested in our personal story." "The boys are performing in the children's choir," Melissa reminded him. "I don't want them exposed to that kind of attention." Michael's jaw tightened with resolve. "I won't let anything happen to them or to you. I'll speak with Eleanor tomorrow, make it clear that our family is off limits." "Our family," Melissa repeated softly, testing the words. "Yes," Michael said firmly. "Our family." As Michael helped Melissa climb into her car, the look Eleanor gave them from across the square contained such unveiled hostility that he finally understood this wasn't mere jealousy. Eleanor was planning something destructive for the festival, and his newfound family was directly in her crosshairs. The morning of the Christmas festival dawned with perfect winter weather. A light snow had fallen overnight, covering Pine Valley Tree Farm in a fresh white blanket. Michael arrived at 6 o'clock to oversee final preparations, his breath forming small clouds in the cold air. "Everything looks wonderful," he told the staff as they put finishing touches on the displays. Thousands of colorful lights twinkled from trees and buildings. The central clearing featured a grand Christmas tree adorned with handmade ornaments from local children, including 3 special ones created by the triplets. By 9 o'clock, the first visitors began to arrive. Michael greeted them at the entrance, wearing a Pine Valley jacket and a warm smile. "Welcome to our annual Christmas festival," he said to each family. "Hot chocolate is available at the main building, and Santa will arrive at 11 o'clock. The boys were scheduled to perform with the children's choir at 10:30. Melissa texted that they were on their way, dressed in matching red sweaters for the performance. "Dad!" Noah spotted Michael first, racing toward him with his brothers close behind. "Look at our sweaters!" Mom made sure they're exactly the same. Michael hugged each boy. "You all look very handsome. Are you ready to sing?" "I know all the words," Ethan stated proudly. "I'm a little nervous," Noah admitted. "I'm not nervous at all," Lucas declared, though he kept shifting from foot to foot. "You'll all do great," Michael assured them. "I'll be right in the front row." Melissa approached more slowly. She wore a simple red dress with a warm coat, her hair pulled back neatly. "The place looks beautiful," she told Michael. "You've done an amazing job." "Thank you," he replied. "I wanted it to be special." "Dad, can I show my friends that you own this whole place?" Lucas asked suddenly. Michael blinked in surprise. It was the first time Lucas had called him Dad without hesitation. "Of course you can," he replied, trying to hide how much the simple word affected him. "Come on, guys," Lucas called to his brothers. "Let's go find James and Tyler." As the boys ran off to find their friends, Michael turned to Melissa. "Lucas called me Dad." Melissa smiled. "He's been practicing at home." He wanted it to feel natural when he finally said it. Michael's heart felt full as he watched his sons proudly telling their friends about their father's tree farm. The festival was in full swing when Melissa noticed a van with a television station logo pull into the parking area. Then another, and another. "Michael," she said with concern, "there are a lot of news people here." Michael frowned. Eleanor said she invited some media, but this seems excessive. 5 reporters with cameras and microphones made their way directly to Michael. Eleanor hurried over, looking extremely pleased with herself. "Mr. Bennett, the media has arrived," she announced. "I've told them you're available for interviews about Pine Valley and the festival." "Mr. Bennett," a woman with a microphone stepped forward. "Jenna Williams from Channel 5 News. Can we get a few words about the tree farm?" Michael nodded reluctantly. "Of course. Pine Valley has been a tradition in Oak Ridge for over 30 years. We're proud to continue providing quality Christmas trees for families throughout Minnesota." The interview started innocently enough with questions about the festival and the trees. Then the questions shifted. "Mr. Bennett, our viewers would love to hear about your personal connection to Oak Ridge," a male reporter said. "We understand you recently discovered you had a family here?" Michael tensed. "My personal life isn't relevant to the festival. But isn't it true that you only learned about your 3 sons a few weeks ago?" another reporter pressed. "How did you confirm the children are actually yours?" a third reporter called out. Eleanor stood to the side, watching with a satisfied smile as the questions became more intrusive. "Is it true that Melissa Thompson kept the children a secret for 8 years until you returned to town as a wealthy businessman?" Jenna Williams asked. The boys had wandered back toward the interview area, waiting for their choir performance. Lucas stopped suddenly when he heard his mother's name, grabbing his brother's arms. "What are they saying about Mom?" he asked, his young face clouding with anger. Michael tried to end the interview. "I think we've covered enough about the festival. Thank you for coming." "But our viewers want to know if you're being manipulated into supporting children that may not be yours," Jenna persisted, her microphone still extended. "That's my mom you're talking about!" Lucas shouted, unable to contain himself any longer. He pushed forward through the crowd, his brothers following. "Lucas, no!" Michael tried to intercept him, but it was too late. "My mom is not a liar!" Lucas yelled at the reporter. "And Michael is our real dad! Tell them, Dad!" Noah began crying at the commotion. Ethan stood frozen, watching the cameras turn toward them. Melissa rushed forward, pulling Lucas back. "That's enough," she said firmly. though her face had gone pale. "Boys, come with me." "But Mom," Lucas protested, "they're saying bad things about you." "I know, sweetheart," Melissa said, her voice steady despite her obvious distress. "But we don't need to listen to them." As Melissa led Noah and Lucas away, Ethan remained rooted to the spot, his analytical mind processing everything he had heard. Michael knelt down to his son's level. "Ethan, go with your mom and brothers," he said gently. "Why are they saying those things?" Ethan asked. "About Mom taking your money?" "Because they don't know the truth," Michael explained. "They don't know how amazing your mom is." The reporters had gathered around them again, cameras rolling to capture the father-son conversation. "Is this one of your sons, Mr. Bennett?" Jenna asked, pushing her microphone closer. Michael stood up, placing himself between Ethan and the cameras. "This interview is over. Please leave my family alone." Eleanor stepped forward. "Perhaps I can answer some questions about the festival instead." Michael turned to her, his voice low and dangerous. "You did this deliberately." Eleanor's smile faltered. "I simply invited media coverage. It's good for business." "You're fired, Eleanor," Michael said clearly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Clean out your office by tomorrow." "What?" Eleanor gasped. "You can't fire me. I've managed Pine Valley for 5 years. And in the 2 weeks I've known you, you've shown nothing but prejudice and cruelty," Michael replied. "Pine Valley deserves better." Leaving Eleanor sputtering in shock, Michael took Ethan's hand and went to find Melissa and the other boys. He spotted them heading toward the parking lot. "Melissa, wait!" he called out, rushing to catch up with Ethan at his side. Melissa turned, tears streaking her face. "This is exactly what I was afraid of," she said. "Public humiliation, my children hearing horrible things about me." "I fired Eleanor," Michael told her. "I had no idea she had planned this media ambush." "It doesn't matter," Melissa said, her voice breaking. "The damage is done. The boys are upset. The choir performance is ruined, and now everyone in town will be talking about us." "Let me fix this," Michael pleaded. "You can't fix it," Melissa replied. "This is your world, Michael. Cameras and reporters and public scrutiny. It's not mine, and it's not what I want for my sons." "Our sons," Michael corrected gently. "Who just had to defend their mother against accusations of being a gold digger," Melissa countered. "I'm taking them home." Michael watched helplessly as Melissa led the boys to her car. Noah was still crying. Lucas looked furious, and Ethan seemed confused and upset. David appeared at Michael's side, having witnessed the entire scene. "I'll handle the media," he offered. "Go after your family." Michael nodded gratefully and ran to his car. By the time Michael reached Melissa's apartment, the boys were inside and the door was locked. He knocked repeatedly. "Melissa, please," he called through the door. "Let me talk to you." "Go away, Michael," Melissa's voice came from inside. "The boys are very upset right now." "Let me help," Michael pleaded. "You've helped enough," Melissa replied, her voice tight with emotion. "The boys are finally asleep after crying for hours. If you really love them, Michael, you'll give us some space before your complicated life hurts them even more than it already has today." Michael rested his forehead against the door, knowing she was right, but unable to walk away from his family when they were in pain. "I'll be at my cabin when you're ready to talk," he said finally. "I love those boys, Melissa. And I care about you too, more than you know." There was no response from inside the apartment. After waiting a few more minutes, Michael reluctantly returned to his car, his festival disaster complete. Michael drove back to his cabin in silence, the weight of the day's disaster heavy on his mind. The festival that should have been joyful had turned into a nightmare for his family. Inside his empty cabin, he poured himself a cup of coffee and sat at his desk. "I need to fix this," he said aloud to the empty room. Michael spent the night writing a formal press statement, which he emailed to every news outlet that had been at the festival. By morning, it was published on the front page of the Oak Ridge Gazette. I, Michael Bennett, wish to address the inappropriate questions directed at my family during yesterday's Pine Valley Christmas Festival. Melissa Thompson has raised our 3 wonderful sons with dedication and love for 8 years. Any implication that she concealed their existence for financial gain is completely false. I left Oak Ridge before knowing about the pregnancy and lost contact. Ms. Thompson attempted to reach me multiple times. The failure of communication was entirely my responsibility, not hers. I ask that the media respect our privacy as we navigate this family situation. The boys didn't attend school on Monday. On Tuesday, Michael drove to their apartment building and found Mrs. Jenkins in the hallway. "They've gone to school," she informed him. Melissa thought it was better than staying home. "How are they?" Michael asked anxiously. "Upset," Mrs. Jenkins replied honestly. "Noah cried all day Sunday. Lucas is angry. Ethan keeps asking questions Melissa doesn't know how to answer. Will you give them something for me?" Michael handed her 3 small packages and an envelope for Melissa. Mrs. Jenkins nodded. "You're in a real mess, aren't you?" "The worst," Michael agreed. "I never meant for any of this to happen." Every day that week, Michael left something for the boys at their door: books for Ethan, art supplies for Noah, a new soccer jersey for Lucas. Melissa found the gifts but never called or texted to acknowledge them. On Thursday, Michael's phone rang during a meeting with David at Pine Valley. "Mr. Bennett?" an unfamiliar voice said. "This is Principal Garcia from Oak Ridge Elementary. There's been an incident involving Lucas. We need you to come to the school." "Is he hurt?" Michael asked immediately. "He's in my office with a bloody nose. He got into a fight with another student." "I'll be right there," Michael said, already grabbing his coat. When Michael arrived at the school, he was directed to the principal's office. Inside, he found Lucas sitting in a chair with tissues held to his nose. Across from him sat another boy with a bruised cheek. Melissa hadn't arrived yet. "Mr. Bennett, thank you for coming," Principal Garcia said. "I've called Miss Thompson as well." "What happened?" Michael asked. "Perhaps Lucas should explain," the principal suggested. Lucas looked up, his eyes defiant despite his bloody nose. "Tommy said my mom was a liar and only wanted your money. He said we weren't really your kids." Michael felt a surge of anger toward the other child, though he kept his expression neutral. "I see," he said. "And what did you do?" "I punched him," Lucas admitted. "Hard." "Violence is never the answer," Principal Garcia said firmly. "Both boys will receive detention." The door opened and Melissa hurried in, looking flustered in her nurse's aide uniform. "Lucas!" she exclaimed. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Mom," Lucas muttered. Melissa noticed Michael and froze. "Oh, you're here." "They called both of us," Michael explained. "Lucas got in a fight." Principal Garcia quickly explained the situation to Melissa, whose face paled when she heard what Tommy had said. "Lucas, we've talked about this," Melissa said gently. "Words can't hurt us." "But they were about you, Mom," Lucas protested. "And they weren't true." After the other boy and his parent were dismissed, Principal Garcia addressed Melissa and Michael privately while Lucas waited outside. "This may be overstepping," the principal began, "but I've seen situations like this before. Children need stability more than anything. Whatever is happening between you 2 adults, your sons need to see a united front." Melissa looked at her hands. "It's complicated." "It always is," Principal Garcia replied kindly. "But those boys are confused and hurting right now." After the meeting, Michael and Melissa walked silently to the parking lot, Lucas between them. "Can we talk?" Michael asked quietly. "Maybe get coffee somewhere?" Melissa hesitated, then nodded. "Lucas has missed enough school today. I'll take him back to class, then meet you at Corner Cafe in 20 minutes. The Corner Cafe was nearly empty in mid-afternoon. Melissa slid into a booth across from Michael, looking tired. "Thank you for coming," Michael said. Melissa nodded. "Lucas needs both of us right now." "I've been trying to reach you," Michael said. "Did you get my letters?" I got them, Melissa confirmed. I just needed some time. I understand, Michael said. What happened at the festival was unforgivable. It wasn't your fault, Melissa admitted. Eleanor planned it all. But I should have seen it coming, Michael insisted. I'm so sorry the boys had to experience that. They ordered coffee, and Michael took a deep breath. There's something I want to show you, he said, pulling out his phone. He showed her architectural drawings of a modern medical building. I bought the vacant building next to the diner. You what? Melissa looked surprised. I'm turning it into a pediatric clinic, Michael explained. Oak Ridge doesn't have any pediatric specialists. Families have to drive 40 minutes to Rochester. I know, Melissa said. When Ethan had his asthma attack, we had to go all the way to Rochester Memorial. Exactly, Michael nodded. But that's not all. He pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. This is for you. Melissa opened it cautiously to find information about nursing programs at Oak Ridge Community College, along with a detailed child care plan that would allow her to attend evening classes. You told me once that you wanted to be a nurse, Michael said softly, before the boys were born. Melissa stared at the papers, speechless. I've arranged everything, Michael continued. Mrs. Jenkins agreed to help with child care. The program takes 2 years and you'd have a job waiting for you at the new clinic. Michael, Melissa's voice faltered. I don't know what to say. Say you'll consider it, Michael urged. Not for me, but for yourself. You put your dreams on hold to raise our sons. You don't have to do that anymore. Melissa wiped away a tear. Why are you doing this? Because you deserve it, Michael said simply. And because I want our sons to see that both their parents are achieving their dreams. Meanwhile, Eleanor was not going quietly. She had spent days nursing her humiliation after being publicly fired. That afternoon, she knocked on Mrs. Jenkins's door. May I help you? Mrs. Jenkins asked, not opening the screen door fully. I'm Eleanor Prescott from Pine Valley, Eleanor introduced herself. I wanted to speak with you about Melissa Thompson. I know who you are, Mrs. Jenkins replied coolly. You're the woman who arranged that awful media spectacle that hurt those sweet boys. Eleanor had the grace to look embarrassed. That's partly why I'm here. I wanted to apologize. I was hoping you might help me reach Melissa. Mrs. Jenkins studied Eleanor's face carefully. Why would you want to apologize now? I've had time to reflect on my behavior, Eleanor said. It was unprofessional. It was cruel, Mrs. Jenkins corrected. And I don't believe for 1 minute that you're truly sorry. Eleanor's polite mask slipped. Listen, I just need to speak with Melissa. Michael has ruined my reputation in this town. I need to clear my name. So this isn't about apologizing at all, Mrs. Jenkins observed. It's about you. You don't understand? I understand perfectly, Mrs. Jenkins interrupted. You judged that young woman and her children based on their appearance and circumstances. You decided they weren't good enough for your precious tree farm or for Michael Bennett. Eleanor had no response. Let me ask you something, Mrs. Jenkins continued gently. Have you ever raised a child alone? Have you worked 2 jobs and still made time to attend every school event? Have you stretched $20 to feed 4 people for a week? No, but then perhaps you should examine your own prejudices before seeking forgiveness, Mrs. Jenkins suggested, closing her door firmly. As Christmas Eve approached, Michael worked tirelessly on a special project. For 3 days, he and a team of workers transformed Pine Valley Tree Farm into an enchanted winter wonderland with thousands of extra lights, ice sculptures, and festive displays designed specifically to delight children. On December 23rd, a full-page announcement appeared in the Oak Ridge Gazette. Today only. Free Christmas trees for every family in Oak Ridge. Pine Valley Tree Farm welcomes all families regardless of budget. I also wish to publicly apologize to Melissa Thompson, who has shown extraordinary strength and grace in raising our sons for 8 years. Your dedication to our children is a gift I can never repay. Michael Bennett, owner. As Melissa read the newspaper with tears in her eyes, the triplets crowded around her. "Dad did this for us," Noah said proudly. "For Mom, too," Ethan pointed out. "Can we go see him?" Lucas asked. "Please?" Melissa looked at her sons' hopeful faces and finally nodded. "Yes," she said softly. "I think it's time we forgave your father." "Hurry up, boys!" Melissa called, standing in the hallway of their apartment. "Get your coats on!" It was Christmas Eve morning. Outside, fresh snow covered the streets of Oak Ridge. The triplets rushed from their bedroom, their eyes wide with excitement. "Are we really going to see Dad?" Noah asked, zipping up his new winter coat. "Yes," Melissa confirmed. "But first, put on your hats and gloves. It's cold outside." As they drove through town, they noticed something unusual. On almost every street corner, cars were loaded with Christmas trees. "Look," Ethan pointed. "The Roberts family has a tree on their car, and the Petersons too." "Everyone in town must have gone to Pine Valley for the free trees," Melissa explained. "Your father's gift to Oak Ridge." When they arrived at Pine Valley Tree Farm, they could hardly believe their eyes. The entrance was decorated with ice sculptures and thousands of twinkling lights. A sign welcomed visitors. "Merry Christmas from the Bennett family." "Wow," Lucas whispered. "Dad did all this?" Inside the gates, Pine Valley had been transformed into a magical winter wonderland. Every tree sparkled with lights. Holiday music played softly. Children laughed as they rode a small train decorated like a reindeer-pulled sleigh around the property. Michael stood near the central Christmas tree, helping a family secure a tree to their car. When he looked up and saw Melissa and the boys, he froze. "Dad!" Noah shouted, running toward him. Michael knelt down, opening his arms as all three boys rushed to hug him. "We saw your message in the newspaper," Ethan said. "Mom said we could forgive you," Lucas added. "I'm so glad," Michael replied, his voice thick with emotion. He looked up to see Melissa standing a few steps away, watching them. "The place looks amazing," she said softly. Michael stood, uncertain. "Thank you for bringing them." "I wasn't sure if—" He didn't finish his sentence because Melissa stepped forward and hugged him. "What you did," she whispered, "with the newspaper announcement and all this— Thank you." Michael hugged her back, relief washing over him. "I wanted to make things right." "You did," she assured him. The boys tugged at Michael's coat. "Can we ride the train?" Noah asked eagerly. "Of course," Michael smiled. "Today is about whatever makes you happy." For the next few hours, the family enjoyed everything the winter wonderland offered. They rode the train, drank hot chocolate, and helped other families select their free Christmas trees. The boys proudly introduced Michael as their dad to everyone they met. During a quiet moment while the boys played in the snow fort Michael had built, he handed Melissa a folder. "What's this?" she asked. "Proof that I'm trying to be better," Michael explained. Inside, Melissa found registration forms for parenting classes and information about a support group for blended families. "I started last week," Michael told her. "I have a lot to learn about being a good father." Melissa smiled, genuinely touched. "This means a lot." Later, they ran into Mrs. Jenkins, who had come to enjoy the festivities. "Well, isn't this a sight for sore eyes?" the elderly woman said, seeing them all together. "A proper family at last." "Mrs. Jenkins!" Michael greeted her warmly. "I'm glad you could make it. I have something for you." He handed her an envelope. Mrs. Jenkins opened it, her hands trembling slightly. Inside was a deed with her name on it. "What is this?" she asked in confusion. "Your mortgage," Michael explained. "I bought it from the bank and paid it off. The house is yours, free and clear." Mrs. Jenkins gasped. "But why?" "Because you took care of my family when I couldn't," Michael said simply. "You've been there for Melissa and the boys from the beginning. It's the least I can do to thank you." Tears filled the older woman's eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll join us for Christmas breakfast tomorrow," Melissa suggested, squeezing Mrs. Jenkins's hand. As afternoon turned to evening, Michael checked his watch. "I have one more surprise. Would you all come to my cabin for dinner?" The boys cheered their approval, and Melissa nodded with a smile. Michael's cabin glowed with warm light as they pulled into the driveway. Inside, a magnificent Christmas tree stood in the living room, surrounded by beautifully wrapped presents. "Are those for us?" Noah asked in amazement. "Some of them," Michael confirmed. "Why don't you look for the ones with your names?" Each boy found several packages with their names. Michael had chosen gifts that matched their individual interests perfectly. Advanced science books and a telescope for Ethan, professional art supplies and an easel for Noah, top-quality soccer gear, and tickets to a Minnesota United game for Lucas. "This is the best Christmas ever," Noah declared, hugging his new sketch pad. While the boys examined their gifts, Michael handed Melissa a small box. "This one's for you." Inside were acceptance letters to 3 nursing programs, including one at Oak Ridge Community College. "I've been accepted?" she asked in disbelief. "To all 3, Michael confirmed. "I made some calls, sent your transcripts from before the boys were born." They were very impressed. "But classes, tuition, the boys—" "It's all arranged," Michael assured her. "Tuition is covered. Mrs. Jenkins and I will help with the boys while you're in class. And once you graduate, there's a position waiting for you at the new pediatric clinic." Tears filled Melissa's eyes. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to thank me," Michael said. "You put your dreams on hold to raise our sons. Now it's your turn." After the boys had played with their new gifts for a while, they began to yawn. Michael showed them to a room he had prepared with 3 new beds. "Is this our room?" Ethan asked, looking around at the space decorated with stars on the ceiling. "Whenever you visit," Michael confirmed, "which I hope will be often." Once the boys were tucked in, Michael invited Melissa to join him on the front porch. The night was clear, stars twinkling above the snow-covered landscape. "I'm not trying to rush you into anything," Michael said softly. "I know you need time to trust me again." "It's not just about trust," Melissa replied. "It's about what's best for the boys." "I agree," Michael nodded. "They need stability, consistency. They need both of us." "What exactly are you saying, Michael?" "I'm saying I want us to try," he answered honestly. "Not just as co-parents, but maybe something more. Eventually. When you're ready." Melissa looked out at the snowy yard. "A lot has changed in a few weeks." "Everything has changed," Michael agreed. "I found my family. I'm not letting go again." Melissa turned to him with a small smile. "One day at a time?" "One day at a time," he promised. Christmas morning dawned bright and clear. In Melissa's apartment, the aroma of coffee and pancakes filled the air. Mrs. Jenkins arrived early, carrying additional presents for the boys. "Merry Christmas!" she called as the boys tackled her with hugs. Michael arrived next, his arms full of grocery bags. "I brought breakfast reinforcements," he announced, setting them on the counter. As he helped Melissa make pancakes, a tentative knock sounded at the door. Lucas opened it to find Eleanor Prescott standing there looking uncomfortable. "Is your mother home?" Eleanor asked politely. Melissa came to the door, surprised to see Eleanor. "Yes?" "I wanted to apologize," Eleanor said. "To you and your family. My behavior was inexcusable." Michael joined them. "Eleanor." "Michael," she nodded. "I deserve to be fired. I let my prejudices cloud my judgment." "We all make mistakes," Melissa said after a moment. "The important thing is learning from them." "I've been volunteering at the homeless shelter," Eleanor admitted. "It's opened my eyes to many things." Michael and Melissa exchanged glances. "Would you like to join us for breakfast?" Melissa offered. Eleanor's eyes widened in surprise. "Really?" "It's Christmas," Melissa said simply. "No one should be alone today." As they ate breakfast together, an unlikely gathering of people whose lives had become unexpectedly intertwined, Michael made an announcement. "I've hired Eleanor to run the community outreach program at the new pediatric clinic," he told everyone, teaching local children about health and wellness. Eleanor looked embarrassed but grateful. "I won't let you down," she promised. After breakfast, they all bundled up to play in the fresh snow. Michael taught the boys how to build a proper snowman, while Melissa and Mrs. Jenkins watched from the window. "He's good with them," Mrs. Jenkins observed. "Yes," Melissa agreed. "He is." "Are you going to give him another chance?" the older woman asked. "A real chance?" Melissa smiled as she watched Michael help Ethan place a carrot nose on their snowman. "I think we're all getting a second chance," she replied. Outside, Lucas threw a snowball that hit Michael squarely in the back. "Dad!" he called out, laughing. "Look out!" Michael grinned and scooped up snow, chasing his son around the yard. Noah joined in, followed by Ethan, until all four were breathless with laughter. As the snow continued to fall on their first Christmas together, Melissa realized that the perfect tree they'd been denied weeks ago had led them to something far more valuable, a family that wasn't defined by the time they'd lost, but by all the moments they would now create together. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.